Okay, so we talked about philosophy for quite a bit. Let's talk about what is startup engineering. So basically, stepping back from philosophy and getting into brass tacks, ricocheting back and forth, by the way, between philosophy and brass tacks is what a startup is all about. My favorite analogy for a startup is the sport called chess boxing. In chess boxing, one plays a game of chess over here, and then alternates between chess matches and boxing matches, where you're just going toe to toe and slugging it out with somebody in the ring. And that's a real sport. There's nothing I can think of that is more similar to a startup than that. So we just did a lot of chess and some abstract stuff. Let's do some boxing. Startup engineering, the boxing part of this means getting something to work well enough for people to buy. At least that's a definition that I'll use for the purpose of this class. Engineering in this sense basically is distinct from academia, which only requires that something work well enough to publish a paper, but it's also not architecture astronautics, which is usually about planning for enormous scale or an infinite number of users before the first customer. Between those poles of 0 and infinity lies startup engineering, concerned primarily with shipping a sellable product. You can also include an open source application that's downloaded and used by people. Let's just say that you're getting users or customers. And really, one of the fundamental things here is systems integration. You want to be able to evaluate pieces, keep up with new technologies, and then snap those pieces together. And so, as a list, this is a good list of technologies that are worth clicking on over here. I've given a bunch of links. These are things that we'll use in the course to build a simple website, a self-starter, that is to say, a crowdfunding site that you can use yourself to raise money for your own projects. I spoke about that to some extent in Lecture 0. These are the technologies we'll use for doing this. You can click and learn more about them. We'll go over them in much, much more detail over the course of the quarter. But the basic idea is you're not going to be able to obviously read the source code of each of these applications, but what you will be able to do is sort of understand how they work, how they fit together, and importantly, what the alternatives are and why you're choosing one of them over the other. You won't have all that context obviously today, but by the end of the class, hopefully you should have some of that context as we go through these, and you get a sense for using at least one of them, and then with the knowledge of, say, using Postgres, you might be able to critique MySQL or MongoDB, a little better. So that's startup engineering, and next we'll talk about design, marketing, and sales, and then we'll finish up for this lecture.